Emma Chen pressed her face against the cool window of the space station. Outside, stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across black cloth. At 12 years old, she had seen many beautiful sights while traveling with her mother. But the view from Centauri Trade Station never got old. "Emma, stay close," her mother called from across the diplomatic lounge. Ambassador Sarah Chen was busy talking with alien delegates, trying to work out new trade deals between Earth and the outer colonies. Her voice carried that tone Emma knew well, the one that meant business was more important than fun right now. The trade station buzzed with activity. Aliens from dozens of different worlds walked through the corridors. Some looked almost human, while others had tentacles, scales, or skin that changed colors. Emma had learned not to stare, but she still found them fascinating. Marcus Kane stood near the wall, watching everything with sharp eyes. Uncle Marcus wasn't really her uncle, but he had been her mother's friend for so long that Emma called him family. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's space fleet, with silver stars on his shoulders that meant he was important. Marcus always made Emma feel safe when they traveled to places like this. "The meeting should finish soon," Marcus said, walking over to Emma. His voice was gentle, different from the commanding tone he used with his crew. "Then we can grab some of that chocolate ice cream from the Earth section." Emma smiled. The station had foods from many worlds, but nothing beat real Earth chocolate. "Mom says the talks are going well. The Altarians want to buy our computers." "Your mother is very good at her job," Marcus replied. He checked his watch, a habit Emma had noticed he did when he was thinking about security matters. "She helps keep peace between worlds." The lounge had big windows and comfortable chairs arranged around low tables. Most of the furniture was designed to fit different alien body types, which sometimes made it look strange to human eyes. Emma sat in a chair that was probably made for beings with tails, since it had a gap in the back. Near the center of the room, her mother stood with 3 aliens. 2 were Altarians, tall, thin beings with blue skin and large eyes. The third was someone Emma had never seen before. This alien had gray skin, 4 arms, and wore expensive-looking robes covered in metal decorations. "Who is that?" Emma asked, pointing at the gray alien. Marcus followed her gaze, and his expression grew serious. "HFY. They run shipping companies across this sector." He paused, then added, "Stay away from them, Emma. They're not like the other aliens we deal with." Before Emma could ask why, her mother waved her over. "Emma, come meet our new friends." Emma walked across the room, her shoes making soft sounds on the polished floor. The Altarians smiled when they saw her. At least Emma thought they were smiling. Their faces worked differently than human faces. "This is my daughter, Emma," her mother said proudly. "Emma, this is Trade Minister Veltar and his assistant Quinara from Altair Prime." The Altarians made a gesture that Emma knew meant respect in their culture. She copied the gesture back, which made them seem pleased. "And this is Merchant Prince Zekmoth of the HFY Consortium," her mother continued. The gray alien studied Emma with small, dark eyes. When he spoke, his voice sounded like gravel grinding together. "Interesting. Human young ones look much like small adults. Very unusual among galactic species." Something about the way he looked at her made Emma uncomfortable. She stepped closer to her mother. "Emma is very bright," her mother said. "She speaks 3 languages and helps me understand different cultures." "Fascinating," Zekmoth said. His 4 hands moved constantly, touching his metal decorations or adjusting his robes. "Human children must be quite valuable to your species." "Every child is precious," her mother replied firmly. Marcus appeared beside them, his hand resting on the weapon at his side. Emma hadn't seen him move, but suddenly he was there. "Ambassador, the transport will be ready in 1 hour." "Thank you, Admiral." Her mother turned back to the aliens. "I'm afraid we'll need to continue our discussions another time." The Altarians nodded and said polite goodbyes. Zekmoth stared at Emma for a long moment before speaking. "Perhaps we will meet again, young human." After the aliens left, Emma tugged on her mother's sleeve. "I didn't like that, HFY." Her mother's face softened. "Sometimes we have to work with people we don't particularly like, sweetheart. It's part of diplomacy." Marcus leaned down to Emma's level. "But you should always trust your instincts about people. They're usually right." The next hour passed quickly. Emma ate her promised ice cream while her mother finished paperwork. Marcus spoke quietly with his security team, checking departure schedules and making sure their ship was ready. Emma was reading a book about alien cultures when the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, bathing everything in red. People started talking in worried voices. Emma heard her mother calling her name, but the sound seemed to come from far away. Strong hands grabbed Emma from behind. She tried to scream, but something covered her mouth. The hands belonged to someone much stronger than any human. Emma kicked and struggled, but whoever held her didn't seem to notice. "Emma," Marcus's voice rang out across the lounge. Emma heard running footsteps and shouts in different alien languages. The person carrying Emma moved fast through corridors Emma didn't recognize. The red emergency lights made everything look scary and strange. Emma's heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. They reached what looked like a loading dock. Several gray-skinned Kethvar waited there with weapons drawn. A small ship sat nearby with its doors open. "The human child, as requested," said the voice of whoever was carrying Emma. She was passed to another set of hands, these ones belonging to Zekmoth. "Excellent," the merchant prince said. "The buyers will pay very well for such a rare specimen." Emma tried to scream again, but the cloth over her mouth muffled the sound. Tears ran down her cheeks as she realized what was happening. These aliens were stealing her, taking her away from her mother and Uncle Marcus. "Alert! Alert!" A mechanical voice echoed through the station. "Security breach in Section 7. All personnel evacuate immediately." Zekmoth carried Emma toward the ship. "Quickly! The humans will send their warriors soon." Just as they reached the ship's entrance, Emma heard a sound that made her heart leap with hope. Marcus's voice, amplified by some kind of speaker system, rang through the loading dock. "Return the child immediately. This is Admiral Kane of the Earth Space Fleet." Zekmoth laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a hill. "Too late, human. Your young one belongs to us now." The ship's doors closed with Emma inside. She felt the vibration as engines started up. Through a small window, she saw the loading dock growing smaller as the ship flew away from the station. Emma was alone with aliens who thought of her as a thing to be sold. She curled up in the corner of the small room where they had put her, trying to be brave like Uncle Marcus had taught her. But she was just a 12-year-old girl, and she was more scared than she had ever been in her life. Outside, the stars that had looked so beautiful before now seemed cold and distant. Somewhere among them was Earth, where people who loved her were probably crying. Emma closed her eyes and tried to remember her mother's voice, her gentle hands, and the way Uncle Marcus always made her feel safe. She didn't know that her kidnapping had just started something that would change the galaxy forever. Marcus Kane stood in the command center of Earth's newest battleship, watching dozens of screens that showed star maps, ship positions, and communication feeds. 3 weeks had passed since Emma's kidnapping, and every single day felt like a year. The ship's bridge buzzed with activity. Officers moved between stations, updating search patterns and checking reports from across the galaxy. Everyone wore the same expression, focused determination mixed with cold anger. "Admiral, we have another report from Sector 12, Lieutenant Sarah Park said from her station. The merchant vessel Lucky Strike spotted a Kethvar transport ship near the Vega system. Marcus walked over to the main display, where a three-dimensional map showed the positions of hundreds of human ships. Red dots marked confirmed Kethvar sightings. Blue dots showed human vessels. The pattern was clear. Humanity had spread across known space like a net, searching for one small girl. "Send the Valiant and Defiance to investigate," Marcus ordered. "Standard search protocols. If they find any Kethvar vessels, board them and search for Emma or information about her location." "Yes, sir," Park replied, her fingers flying over her control panel. Captain Rodriguez, Marcus's second in command, approached with a datapad. "Admiral, I have the latest numbers. We now have 437 ships actively searching. That includes every military vessel Earth can spare, plus merchant ships, research vessels, and even private yachts." Marcus nodded. The response had been immediate and total. When news of Emma's kidnapping reached Earth, something had awakened in humanity that surprised even Marcus. Every ship owner, every captain, every crew member had volunteered for the search. It didn't matter if they knew Emma personally or had never heard of her before. She was human, she was a child, and she was in danger. That was enough. "What about the diplomatic front?" Marcus asked. Rodriguez's face darkened. "Ambassador Chen is still trying to work through the Galactic Council, but they're moving at their usual pace. Lots of meetings, lots of talk, not much action. They've issued a formal request for the Kethvar to return Emma, but there's no enforcement mechanism. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. The Galactic Council represented over 200 different alien species, but they had never dealt with a situation like this. To them, the kidnapping of one individual, even a child, was not worth disrupting galactic trade relationships. "Sir?" called Ensign Martinez from the communication station. "Incoming message from the Endeavor. They've found something." The main screen switched to show Captain Liu of the exploration vessel Endeavor. Liu's usual calm expression was replaced by barely controlled excitement. "Admiral Kane, we boarded a Kethvar slave ship in the Proxima system. We found 43 beings from 17 different species aboard." Liu paused. "Emma wasn't among them, but we learned something important." "Go ahead, Captain," Marcus said. "The slaves told us about a place called the Arena of Screams. It's apparently where the Kethvar take their most valuable captures for gladiatorial entertainment. If Emma is as special as they think she is, that's where they'll take her." Marcus felt his heart rate increase. "Where is this arena?" "The Kethvar home system, sir. Deep in their territory, heavily defended. But Admiral," Liu's voice carried a warning tone, "the rescued slaves also told us something else. The Kethvar have been bragging about capturing a human child. They're treating it like a great victory." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of ship systems. Marcus could feel the anger radiating from every person present. The Kethvar weren't just holding Emma prisoner. They were proud of it. "Thank you, Captain Liu. Make sure those rescued beings get medical attention and safe passage home." Marcus turned to address his crew. "All stations, prepare for a course change. We're heading to Kethvar space." "Sir," Rodriguez said quietly, "their territory is heavily defended. We'll be greatly outnumbered." Marcus looked at the star map again. Red icons marked Kethvar military bases, patrol routes, and defensive positions. It would be dangerous, possibly suicidal, for a single ship to penetrate their defenses. "Send a message to all human vessels," Marcus commanded. "All ships, all crews, converge on coordinates I'm about to transmit. It's time to bring Emma home." Over the next several hours, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. Human ships from across known space began moving toward Kethvar territory. Military vessels designed for war flew alongside cargo ships that had never seen combat. Research vessels equipped with advanced sensors joined the fleet next to luxury yachts whose owners had never fired a weapon in anger. Dr. Elizabeth Warren, Emma's pediatrician from Earth, piloted her small medical transport toward the meeting point. She had never expected to participate in a military operation, but when she heard about Emma's kidnapping, she had loaded her ship with medical supplies and launched into space. "This is crazy," her assistant, Nurse Johnson, said as they watched military ships take formation around them. "We're doctors, not soldiers." "That little girl might need medical attention when we find her," Dr. Warren replied firmly. "I've treated Emma since she was born. I'm not letting her face this alone." Similar conversations happened on hundreds of ships. Engineers, scientists, traders, and farmers, none of them soldiers, but all of them human. They came because Emma was one of them. Because leaving a child in the hands of aliens who saw her as a trophy was unthinkable. Admiral Kane watched his impromptu fleet assemble and felt something he had never experienced before. This wasn't just military coordination. This was an entire species responding to a threat against one of their young. The aliens had made a fundamental mistake. They thought they were dealing with a government that would weigh costs against benefits. Instead, they had awakened something primal in humanity. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park reported, "we're receiving communication requests from several alien governments. The Altarians, the Rigelians, the Centauri Federation, they're all asking about our ship movements." "What should I tell them?" she asked. Marcus considered for a moment. "Tell them we're going to rescue our child. If they want to help, they're welcome to join us. If they want to interfere, they can get out of our way." "Sir, the Galactic Council is demanding an explanation for our military buildup," Rodriguez added. "They're saying we're violating several interstellar treaties by moving so many armed vessels into disputed space." Marcus turned to face the camera that would transmit his message to the Galactic Council. When he spoke, his voice was calm but carried the weight of absolute determination. "To the Galactic Council and any other authority who thinks they have a say in this matter, a human child has been kidnapped and is being held against her will. We are going to get her back. We don't care about your treaties, your trade agreements, or your diplomatic protocols. We care about Emma Chen, and we are bringing her home." The message was transmitted across galactic communication networks. Within hours, alien governments began receiving reports of the massive human fleet moving toward Kethvar space. Many of these governments had dismissed humanity as a minor player in galactic politics, a young species with limited military power and little influence. They were about to learn how wrong they had been as the human fleet approached the edge of Kethvar territory. Marcus received one final message from Ambassador Chen. Emma's mother had exhausted all diplomatic options. The Galactic Council had officially declared the matter under investigation and refused to take action. Marcus looked at the faces of his crew, then at the display showing hundreds of human ships ready to follow him into battle. These people had left their jobs, their families, their safe lives to rescue a child most of them had never met. "All ships, this is Admiral Kane," he broadcast to the fleet. "We go in together, we fight together, and we bring Emma home together. For humanity." "For humanity," came the response from hundreds of vessels. The hunt was about to become a war. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive dome that could hold representatives from over 200 different worlds. Today it buzzed with nervous energy as delegates discussed the human fleet gathering at the edge of Kethvar space. Councillor Vextar of the Altarian Republic stood at the central podium, his blue skin pale with worry. "Honored delegates, we face an unprecedented situation. The humans have assembled the largest military force seen in this sector for over a century. They demand the return of a single individual." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many of the aliens present had never seen humans show such organized aggression. To most galactic species, the loss of one individual, even a young one, would be tragic but not worth risking interstellar war. "The humans are clearly overreacting," declared Councillor Thexra of the Sectar Hegemony. Her species looked like giant insects with crystalline armor, and her voice clicked and buzzed when she spoke. "The Kethvar Consortium is a legitimate business organization. This minor incident does not justify military action." Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the human delegation area, her hands clenched in her lap. 3 weeks without knowing if her daughter was alive or dead had aged her years. She had tried every diplomatic channel, called in every favor, pleaded with every alien official who would listen. Now she watched them debate her child's life like it was a trade dispute. "Minor incident?" Sarah stood up, her voice carrying across the chamber. "They kidnapped my 12-year-old daughter. She's a child who has done nothing wrong. Please contain your emotional outbursts, Ambassador Chen," Thexera replied coldly. "The Kethvar have simply acquired new property according to their cultural practices. Your species' attachment to individual offspring is not our concern." Sarah felt her blood turn to ice. Property. They were calling Emma property. High Counselor Mordak, leader of the council, raised one of his 6 hands for silence. His species was ancient and supposedly wise, but Sarah now saw only callous indifference in his large eyes. "The council recognizes the human's distress," Mordak said in his deep, rumbling voice. "However, military action would destabilize the entire sector. We propose extended negotiations with the Kethvar Consortium to reach a peaceful solution." "How extended?" Sarah asked, though she already feared the answer. "These matters require careful consideration, perhaps 18 to 24 months. Sarah stared at him in horror. 2 years. They wanted her to wait 2 years while her daughter remained in the hands of aliens who saw her as a thing to be bought and sold. "The human fleet will withdraw immediately," Mordak continued, "or face sanctions from the entire Galactic Council." At that moment, every screen in the chamber activated simultaneously. Admiral Kane's face appeared, transmitted from his flagship. His expression was calm, but his eyes held something that made even the most arrogant delegates pay attention. "To the Galactic Council and all who hear this message," Marcus began. "I am Admiral Marcus Kane of the Earth Space Fleet. I speak for humanity in this matter." "You have no authority here, human," Thexra snapped. "This chamber is for civilized discourse, not military threats." Marcus looked directly at her through the screen. "Civilized? You call it civilized to debate the life of a child for 2 years while she suffers in captivity? You call it civilized to treat a 12-year-old girl as property?" He paused, letting his words sink in. "The Kethvar have 72 hours to return Emma Chen unharmed to her mother. This is humanity's only warning. And if they refuse? Mordak asked. Then you will learn why humans have conquered every world we've ever set foot on, Marcus replied. Emma Chen will be returned to her family, or the HFY consortium will cease to exist. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Far away in HFY space, Merchant Prince Zekmoth watched the same broadcast from his flagship. Around him, other HFY leaders chittered with amusement. The humans think they can threaten us? Zekmoth laughed, his forearms gesturing dismissively. We have been raiding weaker species for centuries. What can these primitives do? War leader Krathvan, commander of the HFY military forces, studied tactical displays showing the human fleet. They have more ships than expected, Prince. Perhaps we should consider their demands. Nonsense. Zekmoth slammed one fist on his command chair. We are backed by the Sectar hegemony. Their military technology is far superior to anything humans possess. Besides, the girl is already generating significant profit in the arena. Krathvan pulled up a holographic display showing Emma in a small cell. The 12-year-old sat in the corner, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked thin and frightened, but was still alive. The buyers are very interested, Zekmoth continued. Some want to purchase her for private collections. Others wish to study human physiology. The bidding has reached record amounts. And if the humans attack? Krathvan asked. Then we destroy a few of their ships and show the galaxy that the HFY are not to be threatened. The other species will see human weakness and return to proper trade relationships. Zekmoth activated his communications array and began recording a message. When he finished, it was broadcast across all galactic networks. The recording showed Emma in her cell, followed by footage of several human prisoners being led to an execution chamber. Among them was Lieutenant Torres, Emma's bodyguard, who had been captured during the initial kidnapping. Humans of Earth. Zekmoth's voice accompanied the images. Your species will learn proper respect for your betters. This is what happens to those who threaten the HFY consortium. The execution was broadcast live across the galaxy. Lieutenant Torres died with dignity, but his last words were a message for his fellow humans. Find Emma. Make them pay. When Admiral Kane received the broadcast, something changed in his expression. The careful control he had maintained for weeks cracked, revealing something that made his bridge crew step back involuntarily. Signal all human vessels, Marcus said quietly. Condition read. All diplomatic restrictions are now void. Captain Rodriguez approached carefully. Sir, your orders? Marcus looked at the star charts showing HFY territory. Send a message to every human ship, every human colony, every human settlement in known space. He turned to face the camera that would carry his words to every corner of human civilization. People of Earth and all human worlds. The HFY consortium has chosen war. They have murdered our people and threatened our children. They believe we will calculate the cost and back down like civilized beings. Marcus paused, and when he continued, his voice carried the weight of absolute judgment. They are wrong. We are not civilized when our children are threatened. We are not reasonable when our family is taken. We are human and we protect our own. The message reached every human settlement from Earth to the furthest colonies. Factory workers put down their tools and volunteered for military service. Scientists abandoned their research to develop new weapons. Farmers sent their crops to feed the fleet, while their sons and daughters enlisted for combat duty. Dr. Emily Foster, Earth's leading expert on alien biology, worked feverishly in her laboratory. She had never designed weapons before, but the images of Emma in that cell had changed something fundamental in her worldview. If the HFY wanted to treat humans as specimens to be studied, she would give them a very educational experience. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council emergency session devolved into chaos. Half the delegates demanded immediate action to stop human military buildup. The other half worried about what would happen if they tried to interfere with a species that had just declared total war. This is madness, Councillor Vextar said to Ambassador Chen. Your people are talking about exterminating an entire species over one individual. Sarah looked at him with eyes that held no mercy. My daughter is not one individual to us. She is family, and humans do not abandon family. High Counselor Mordak tried one final diplomatic intervention. Admiral Kane, the Council offers to mediate this dispute. Surely there is a peaceful solution. Marcus's response was simple. You had your chance for a peaceful solution. You chose politics over protecting a child. Now you will witness the consequences of that choice. As human fleets moved toward Kethvar space, a new message appeared on communication networks across the galaxy. It was brief and transmitted in every known language. To all species who trade with or support the Kethvar Consortium, you have 24 hours to cease all cooperation with them. After that time, you will be considered enemies of humanity. We will remember who stood with us and who stood against us when a human child needed help. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if the humans were bluffing. They were about to learn that humans never bluff when family is involved. The first Kethvar world died at exactly 800 Universal Time. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as human ships emerged from hyperspace around the planet Keth Prime Minor. The world held 3 million Kethvar civilians and served as a major shipping hub for their consortium. All vessels report ready. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez announced. Targeting systems locked on all military installations. Marcus nodded, his face showing no emotion. Begin Operation Rescue Dawn. All civilian areas are to be given 1 hour to evacuate. Military targets are weapons-free immediately. The human fleet moved with precision that stunned observers across the galaxy. Instead of the chaotic battle most expected, human ships demonstrated coordination that seemed impossible across such distances. Every vessel knew exactly where to be and what to do. Commander Sarah Kim piloted her destroyer toward the planet's orbital defense platform. Her ship's weapons charged with energy signatures that made alien military analysts frantically check their sensor readings. The weapons technology was unlike anything in galactic databases. This is Commander Kim of the UES Retribution to Kethvar Defense Platform 7, she broadcast on all frequencies. You have 60 seconds to evacuate all personnel. After that, your station will be destroyed. The Kethvar commander's response crackled with static and indignation. Human vessel, you are committing an act of war against a sovereign species. Withdraw immediately. 50 seconds, Kim replied calmly. On the bridge of Marcus's flagship, Lieutenant Park monitored communications from across the Kethvar system. Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 14 cargo vessels and 3 patrol ships. They're asking for safe passage out of the system. Grant it, Marcus ordered. Any vessel that surrenders and submits to search for human prisoners will be allowed to leave unharmed. The hour deadline passed quickly. When no Kethvar military installation had surrendered, Marcus gave the order that changed galactic history. All ships, execute. The destruction was swift and absolute. Human weapons tore through Kethvar defenses like they were made of paper. Orbital platforms vanished in brilliant flashes of light. Military bases on the planet's surface simply stopped existing, leaving only smooth craters where they had stood. But what shocked galactic observers most was what happened next. Instead of continuing the bombardment, human ships suddenly stopped firing. Medical vessels moved in to assist with civilian evacuations. Food and medical supplies were delivered to refugee centers. This is Admiral Kane to the surviving population of Keth Prime Minor, Marcus broadcast to the planet. We are not at war with your civilians. Evacuate your military personnel and this world will be spared further damage. However, this planet is now under human administration until Emma Chen is returned. Similar scenes played out across Kethvar space. World after world found human fleets appearing in their skies. Military installations were destroyed with surgical precision, but civilian populations were protected and cared for. The Sectar hegemony finally responded, sending their elite battle fleet to reinforce their Kethvar allies. War leader Secthara commanded the most advanced military vessels in known space, equipped with weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. Pathetic humans, she clicked to her officers as their ships dropped out of hyperspace near the Kethvar homeworld. We will show them the price of defying superior species. What they found waiting for them defied all tactical understanding. The human fleet had positioned itself in a formation that shouldn't have been possible to coordinate across such vast distances. Every ship moved as if controlled by a single mind, reacting to threats before they fully materialized. Impossible, whispered Sekathara's tactical officer. Their response time suggests they're sharing information faster than light speed allows. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it ended, the pride of the Sectar military drifted in pieces around the Kethvar homeworld. Sekthara's flagship had been captured intact, its crew imprisoned but unharmed. The Sectar war leader herself sat in a human detention cell, staring at walls she couldn't understand. Dr. Foster's biological weapons proved unnecessary. The human fleet's conventional arsenal was more than sufficient to overwhelm any resistance. But her research had produced something else. A complete understanding of Kethvar biology that allowed human medical teams to treat their wounded with unexpected expertise. Status report. Marcus requested as human ships established orbital control around the Kethvar homeworld. 12 Kethvar worlds under our control, Rodriguez reported. Military resistance has collapsed. We've destroyed over 90% of their fleet and captured the rest. Civilian casualties are minimal thanks to our evacuation protocols. And Emma? Special Forces teams are moving on the Arena of Screams now, sir. Commander Jackson reports they've located the facility. Deep beneath the surface of the Kethvar homeworld, Commander Lisa Jackson led her team through corridors that reeked of fear and suffering. The Arena of Screams lived up to its name, a massive underground complex where the Kethvar had forced captured beings to fight for the entertainment of wealthy spectators. Heat. Signatures indicate massive underground chambers ahead, reported Sergeant Miller, checking his scanner. Multiple life forms, including one that matches human baselines. Jackson felt her heart rate spike. After weeks of searching, they might finally have found Emma. The team moved through the facility with practiced efficiency. Kethvar guards tried to resist but found themselves facing humans who fought with the intensity that terrified them. These weren't soldiers following orders. They were a family looking for a lost child. They found Emma in a holding cell deep in the complex. She sat in the corner, thinner than before but alive. When she saw human faces through the bars, she began to cry. "Emma Chen?" Jackson asked gently, kneeling to the girl's eye level. "Are you really human?" Emma whispered. "I've been here so long, sometimes I dream about people coming to save me." "We're real, sweetheart. I'm Commander Jackson, and we're here to take you home to your mom." As Jackson's team freed Emma and began evacuating other prisoners from the facility, they discovered the full scope of Kethvar operations. Thousands of beings from dozens of species had been held in the complex, many for years. "This place is an abomination," Miller said, as they documented the conditions.
How did the galaxy let this continue?
"Because nobody cared enough to stop it," Jackson replied, helping Emma walk toward the exit. "Until they took one of ours." Above ground, Marcus received the confirmation he had been waiting for. "Admiral, Commander Jackson reports Emma Chen is secure and in good health. All prisoners are being evacuated from the facility." Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders that he had carried for weeks. When he opened them again, his expression was resolute. "Signal all human vessels," he ordered. "Emma is safe. But our work here is not finished." The bridge crew looked at him questioningly. "Sir?" Rodriguez asked. Marcus turned to address his fleet. "To all ships, Emma Chen has been rescued, but the Kethvar consortium still exists. They built an industry on suffering, and they profited from the pain of innocence. That ends today." His voice carried to every human vessel in the system. "The galaxy watched a child suffer and did nothing because it was inconvenient to act. They need to understand that actions have consequences." Comments planetary sterilization of all Kethvar military worlds. "Admiral," Rodriguez said quietly, "that's 12 planets." Marcus looked at the tactical display showing Kethvar space. "They made their choice when they took our child. They made it again when they murdered Lieutenant Torres. They sealed their fate when they turned suffering into entertainment." The orders went out across the human fleet. On 12 worlds that had served as military bases for the Kethvar consortium, human ships began a systematic bombardment that would leave those planets uninhabitable for centuries. It was not genocide. The civilian populations had been evacuated to other worlds. But it was a demonstration of what happened when humanity's children were threatened. As the first world's surface began to glow with the heat of orbital bombardment, a message was sent to every government in the galaxy. The Kethvar consortium no longer exists. Their military has been destroyed, their leadership captured or dead, and their strongholds burned to ash. This is what happens to those who harm human children. Remember this lesson well. Emma Chen was finally going home, and the galaxy would never forget the price of taking her away. 6 months after the rescue of Emma Chen, the galaxy looked very different. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the window of her new office on Luna Station, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive for trade negotiations. But these weren't the same tentative meetings Earth used to hold as a minor player in galactic politics. Now alien delegates came to Earth with respect in their voices and carefully worded proposals. "Mom, the Altarian delegation is here," Emma said from the doorway. At 13 now, she had grown taller during her recovery, but she still stayed close to her mother and Uncle Marcus whenever possible. Sarah turned and smiled at her daughter. Emma bore few physical scars from her captivity, but she had nightmares sometimes and she never liked being alone in small spaces. Dr. Warren said those feelings might fade with time, or they might not. Either way, Emma was alive and home, and that was what mattered. "Are you ready for this meeting?" Sarah asked. "You don't have to attend if you're not comfortable." Emma straightened her shoulders, showing the courage that had helped her survive those weeks in captivity. "I want to be there. People need to see that I'm okay, and that humans protect their families." The meeting room was larger than the old diplomatic facilities Earth used to use. Representatives from the Altarian Republic, the Centauri Federation, and half a dozen other governments sat around a circular table designed to accommodate different alien physiologies. Trade Minister Veltar of the Altarians looked noticeably nervous as Sarah and Emma entered. His blue skin seemed paler than usual, and his large eyes kept glancing toward the door as if he expected human soldiers to appear. "Ambassador Chen, Miss Chen," he said formally, making the gesture of respect his people used. "The Altarian Republic wishes to express again our joy at your daughter's safe return." "Thank you," Sarah replied diplomatically. But Emma stepped forward, looking directly at the Trade Minister. "You voted against helping me," Emma said simply. "When I was taken, the Altarian Republic said it wasn't their problem." Veltar's skin shifted to an even paler shade of blue. "Miss Chen, The situation was complex. Galactic law requires careful consideration." "Galactic law," Emma repeated. "Did galactic law help the thousands of other prisoners we found in that place? Did it help the beings who had been tortured for years while you held meetings?" Sarah put a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder, but didn't stop her from speaking. Her daughter had earned the right to say these things. "I understand why you made those choices," Emma continued. "You thought it was safer to do nothing than to risk conflict. But my Uncle Marcus taught me something important. When good people do nothing, evil people win." The room fell silent. Even the translator devices seemed to pause as Emma's words sank in. Admiral Kane entered the room at that moment, wearing his formal dress uniform with new decorations that represented victories no one had expected humanity to achieve. His presence seemed to fill the space, and every alien delegate turned to look at him with expressions ranging from respect to fear. "Trade Minister Veltar," Marcus said politely, "I trust the Altarian Republic is ready to discuss our new agreements." "Yes, Admiral Kane, absolutely." Veltar fumbled with his datapad, clearly nervous. "We're prepared to offer preferential trade status, technology sharing agreements, and military cooperation treaties." Marcus sat down across from the alien delegates, his expression calm but watchful. "The same treaties you refused to consider 6 months ago." "The situation has evolved," Veltar admitted. "Indeed it has." Marcus activated a holographic display showing current galactic shipping routes. The map was crisscrossed with green lines representing human patrol corridors. Emma's rescue operation had some unexpected side effects. The rescued prisoners from Kethvar facilities had been returned to their home worlds, carrying stories of human efficiency and determination. But more importantly, they carried gratitude. Dozens of species that had lost family members to Kethvar slavers now viewed humanity as liberators. "The Rigelian Mining Consortium has requested human protection for their convoys," Marcus continued. "The Vegan agricultural worlds want us to patrol their space lanes. The Tau-Cetian colonies are asking for human advisors to improve their security." Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to Admiral herself, added more details. "We've also received formal requests for alliance from 47 different worlds. They want guarantees that if their people are threatened, humanity will respond." Emma listened to the discussion with growing understanding. The galaxy had learned something about human nature that changed everything. When humans said they would protect someone, they meant it absolutely. "What about the former Kethvar territory?" asked Delegate Quinara, Veltar's assistant. "Peaceful transition is proceeding smoothly," Marcus replied. "The worlds with civilian populations are being governed by local councils under human oversight. The former military worlds will remain uninhabitable, as monuments to the consequences of harming innocents. What he didn't mention was the psychological effect those dead worlds had on potential enemies. Every species in the galaxy now had sensor data showing what human weapons could do to a planet's surface. 12 worlds turned to glass served as a permanent reminder that humanity's mercy was more terrifying than their wrath. Dr. Foster had been appointed as the new director of interspecies relations, a position that didn't exist before Emma's kidnapping. Her job was to study alien cultures and identify potential threats to human safety before they could act. "We've discovered something interesting," she had reported to Marcus the week before. "Most galactic species consider emotional attachment to individuals a weakness. They prioritize collective survival over personal loyalty. That's why they couldn't understand our response to Emma's kidnapping. And now," Marcus had asked, "now they're realizing that our weakness makes us incredibly dangerous. A species that will sacrifice everything for one child will do absolutely anything to protect their entire civilization." The trade negotiations continued through the day, but the real business was already settled. The Altarians, like every other species, wanted to be on humanity's good side. They had seen what happened to those who weren't. Later that evening, Emma sat in the garden on Luna Station with her mother and Marcus. Earth hung in the sky above them, blue and beautiful and safe. "Do you ever regret what we did?" Emma asked Marcus. "All those worlds we destroyed, all those lives that were changed?" Marcus considered the question carefully. Emma deserved an honest answer. "I regret that it was necessary," he said finally. "I regret that the galaxy let things get so bad that extreme action was the only option. But I don't regret saving you, and I don't regret showing everyone that humans protect their own." "The nightmares are getting better," Emma said quietly. "Dr. Warren says they might never go away completely, but they're not as scary now." Sarah took her daughter's hand. "You're the bravest person I know, Emma. What you survived would have broken most adults." "I survived because I knew you were coming for me," Emma replied. "Even when I was most scared, I knew Uncle Marcus wouldn't stop looking." "Never," Marcus agreed firmly. "Family doesn't abandon family." 3 years later, Emma Chen stood before the Galactic Assembly as humanity's youngest ambassador. The same chamber where her mother had once begged for help now listened respectfully as Emma spoke about the new protocols for protecting kidnapping victims. The Chen protocols, as they were known throughout the galaxy, established rapid response procedures for rescuing captured beings. More importantly, they included enforcement mechanisms with real consequences for those who profited from suffering. The Galactic Council had been restructured after the Kethvar incident. New species had been given voting rights, while others had seen their influence reduced. The balance of power reflected new realities about who could actually project force when needed. But the most significant change was cultural. The galaxy had learned that some species couldn't be measured by conventional metrics of civilization. Humanity's willingness to sacrifice everything for a single child had revealed a capacity for both loyalty and destruction that redefined galactic politics. Trade routes now flowed through human space not just because of favorable terms, but because human protection was the most reliable in the galaxy. When humans gave their word, they kept it. When they made a threat, they followed through. When they offered friendship, it came with absolute loyalty. Emma walked through the corridors of the assembly after her speech, accompanied by security guards from 6 different species. Not because she was in danger, but because protecting Emma Chen had become a symbol of galactic commitment to protecting the innocent. Ambassador Chen, called Counselor Vextar, now much older and grayer than when Emma first met him. "Excellent presentation. The new protocols will save many lives." "Thank you, Counselor," Emma replied politely. "I hope they'll prevent other children from experiencing what I went through." Vextar nodded solemnly. "Your ordeal changed all of us, Miss Chen. We learned that sometimes the most important decisions aren't about politics or trade. Sometimes they're about doing what's right." Emma smiled, but her expression carried the wisdom of someone who had seen both the worst and best of what intelligent beings could do to each other. Thank you for watching, and comment for next part.